Kathleen Kennedy and co. seem hell-bent on reminding us that the Force is now female. And as somebody who is female, I'm here to explain why that is bullshit. Hi y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. So just last week we had quite a bit of controversy that we ended up discussing on this channel because Kathleen Kennedy's new Rey movie director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy came out and said in an interview several years ago that her goal with filmmaking was always to make men uncomfortable.
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
Of course, we all had a good bit of, I wouldn't say fun, but we had some spirited debates here on this channel about what exactly it meant to hire somebody whose entire MO was making men uncomfortable. And of course, that all comes with Kathleen Kennedy's agenda to sort of propel women into a place in Star Wars where they've never been. Kathleen is unconcerned with making real Star Wars content for all of us to consume, enjoy, buy the t-shirt. What she wants to do is push an agenda. There is an agenda here. And the agenda, of course, is that we're all wrong about the way we've been doing things. The Force is female. Everything that has been done before now, before Kathleen Kennedy announced that the Force was female, everything else has been a mistake. Everything else has been an act of misogyny, an act of war against women. And of course, that's why I personally have been offended by Star Wars since I was like 12 years old, because it's all been misogynistic trash. Allow me to educate you guys as to why this is bullshit. Kathleen Kennedy says the Force is female, therefore the Force is now female, but that is not true. George Lucas's former wife, Marcia Lucas, was actually the editor of Star Wars, and in 1977 she won the Academy Award for Best Editing for a Film for Star Wars. Katie Lucas, George Lucas's daughter, went on to write several episodes of the Clone Wars TV series, some of which were part of the Darth Maul arc, which were very well received by fans. Let's not forget writers like Lee Brackett, who wrote the first draft of The Empire Strikes Back. How about Patricia Rose Dugnan, who was part of senior management at ILM producing visual effects for all of the Star Wars films, and Nina Saxon, who worked in visual effects for the entirety of the original trilogy. And that's just to name a few of the influential real women that had to do with Star Wars. Kathleen and Sharmeen are far from the first real women to have anything to do with Star Wars. But let's talk about the characters, right? Because it's so easy to say that Star Wars is owned by men, right? And that's why we needed Rey Skywalker. That's why we need her. That's why we need her solo movie to remind us all that, say it with me, the Force is female, right? Because we've never had strong women in Star Wars. Never mind the People's Princess, Leia Organa, who was not just a princess, but she was also a senator, later a rebel hero, a general. She was never a sex object among her peers, rather she was an equal to Han and Luke. And sure, we got that famously offensive scene in her in that sexy little metal bikini that is just so offensive and traumatizing now to all of us in 2024 that are offended by women's bodies. But let's not forget, she ended up in that metal bikini because she showed up disguised as a bounty hunter to be a bigger part of the plan with her friends in order to serve this rebellion. And after she was captured and forced into that bikini, she was not a damsel in distress. She got the chain and choked out Jabba the Hutt all on her own. But maybe Leia was just a fluke, right? Well, how about Padme Amidala, a queen, a senator, and an absolute badass with a fucking blaster? What about one of the females that Disney just didn't care about? Mara Jade, one of the most important characters from the now not canon Legends series, who was not only the wife of Luke Skywalker, but she was also an agent of Emperor Palpatine. She was an assassin, a smuggler, and later a Jedi Knight, long forgotten by Disney in favor of pushing up their own characters like Rose Tico and Rey Skywalker. The Force is not an agenda. It's not what Kathleen Kathleen Kennedy is trying to make it to be. And this is my big problem with having Sharmeen be the director of this next Star Wars movie. It basically dooms it to being an act of activism, which is not what Star Wars is about. Let's talk a little bit about Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. Obviously, we've already discussed that she is the director for the new upcoming Rey movie, and we've already discussed this clip.
Every single piece of work that I've ever created has a piece of activism in it. It could be very overt or it could be covert, but it is there. I'm not sure if all of you know this, but I'm not a trained filmmaker, so I never went to film school. I went to Smith College and did my undergraduate and studied economics and political science like a good Pakistani girl.
A lot of people on Twitter and in the comments section of my last video wanted to remind me that it's fine to be an accidental filmmaker, that not everybody that's a filmmaker has gone to film school. Others chose to remind me that not only has Sharmeen won an Academy Award for a film that she put out, but she has also been recognized by a number of other award ceremonies for different films and such that she has produced. But we need to talk about what exactly it is that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy has done. Now, Sharmeen is a Canadian-Pakistani director. This is obviously really important to her work because if we look at her film that has won an Academy Award, it's a documentary about a 19-year-old Pakistani girl that survives an honor-killing attempt by her uncle and her father. And that is a story worth telling. The rights of women everywhere are important, but it's especially important when it comes to oppressive countries and cultures, as it seems like this young girl who is the subject of the documentary was most definitely living in. Sharmeen is very open about the fact that she is an activist, and that activism is the root of everything she does. Sharmeen has not lied about that. However, Kathleen has lied about wanting to push Star Wars in a positive direction. Because if you consider everybody else that's ever worked on Star Wars, everybody has had a hand in some sort of sci-fi, action-adventure, fantasy, storytelling. They all have experience. They've all been to film school, sure, but they also all have experience with all of the genres that sort of encompass Star Wars. Sharmeen can tell an important story. Sharmeen is an activist. Sharmeen is the kind of person that makes content to send a message. And that is who Kathleen Kennedy has pushing Star Wars now. Somebody who can send a message. See, it seems like Disney wants to be inclusive to women, but the fact of the matter is that Star Wars is inclusive to everybody. Star Wars has never needed to tell you that the Force is female because the Force is all of us. We don't need to be told the Force is female because females have been part of the Force since 1977. And anyone who says otherwise has some kind of ulterior motive, some kind of insecurity, or some kind of problem in their own lives that they're trying to exercise by putting Star Wars in a light that it really has never needed to be in. The Force and Star Wars has belonged to all of us, and it is obvious now more than ever that Kathleen intends on tearing it out of our hands and turning it into something we no longer recognize. And that is something I cannot accept. And that's all from me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, be sure to check me out on Instagram, and if you'd like to support my content creation and get access to some fabulous photos in the process, be sure to check out my Patreon. I will add links to both in the description below, and let me know your thoughts on this new feminist revolution in Star Wars in the comments below.